Life is a grand adventure, filled with endless possibilities and opportunities for growth. Today, we're going to talk about something that can truly transform your existence, mastering the art of detachment. Now, you might be wondering, what does detachment have to do with happiness? Well, my friends, it has everything to do with it. Think about the last time you felt truly at peace. Chances are, in that moment, you weren't clinging to outcomes or obsessing over things beyond your control. You were simply existing in the present, free from the burdens of attachment. That's the power of detachment. And it's a skill that can revolutionize your life. But let's be clear, detachment doesn't mean not caring. It's not about becoming cold or indifferent. Instead, it's about learning to care without being controlled by our attachments. It's about loving freely without expecting anything in return. It's about pursuing our goals with passion while remaining unattached to the outcome. Imagine a life where you're no longer a slave to your desires, where you can appreciate the beauty of each moment without desperately trying to hold on to it. Imagine being able to love deeply without fear of loss. Imagine working toward your dreams with all your heart while maintaining inner peace regardless of the results. This is the life that mastering detachment can offer you. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but Wayne, isn't attachment natural? Isn't it part of being human? And you're absolutely right. Attachment is a fundamental part of our human experience. We're attached to our loved ones, our possessions, our beliefs, our very identities, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that. The problem arises when these attachments begin to control us, when they become the source of our suffering, when we're so attached to a specific outcome that we can't enjoy the process, when we're so afraid of losing something that we can't fully appreciate, when we're so identified with our roles and possessions that we lose touch with our true selves. That's where the art of detachment comes in. It's about finding that delicate balance between engagement and non-attachment. It's about being fully present in your life while simultaneously maintaining a sense of inner freedom. So how do we begin to cultivate this art? It starts with awareness. Start paying attention to your attachments. Notice how they make you feel. Do they bring you joy or do they cause you anxiety? Do they make you feel free or do they feel like chains? Once you've identified your attachments, the next step is to start questioning them. Ask yourself, is this attachment serving me? Is it bringing more happiness into my life or is it causing suffering? Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate all attachments, but to loosen their grip on you. One powerful way to practice detachment is through mindfulness. By learning to observe your thoughts and emotions without getting caught up in them, you can start to create some space between yourself and your attachments. You begin to realize that you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you are not your attachments, you are the awareness that observes all of these things. Another crucial aspect of mastering detachment is learning to live in the present moment. So much of our attachment comes from dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. But the truth is, the only moment we ever really have is this one, right here, right now. By learning to fully inhabit each moment, we naturally become less attached to what was or what might be. Now, I want to share a personal story with you. Years ago, I was deeply attached to my identity as an author and speaker. My self-worth was tied to my book sales and the size of my audiences. If a book didn't do well or if an event wasn't well attended, I'd be devastated. My mood would fluctuate based on external validation. It was exhausting, and it was robbing me of the joy of doing what I loved. I realized I needed to change my relationship with my work. I needed to detach from the outcomes and focus on the joy of creation itself. So I made a conscious decision to write and speak from a place of love and service, without attachment to how my work would be received. I committed to giving my best in every moment, while letting go of a need for recognition or success. The result was transformative. Not only did I find more joy and peace in my work, but ironically, my books and talks began to resonate even more deeply with people. By detaching from the need for success, I became more authentic, more present, and ultimately more effective in my mission to help others. This is the paradox of detachment. By letting go, we often receive more than we ever could by holding on tightly. When we release our grip on life, life has a way of flowing to us more abundantly. Now, I want to be clear. Mastering the art of detachment is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong practice. There will be days when you feel completely free, and there will be days when you find yourself caught up in attachments again, but that's okay. The key is to approach this practice with gentleness and persistence. Every time you notice yourself getting overly attached, celebrate that awareness. It's an opportunity to practice detachment. Take a deep breath, step back, and remind yourself of your commitment to inner freedom. One powerful technique I found helpful is what I call the what if practice. Whenever you find yourself attached to a particular outcome, ask yourself, what if the opposite happened? What if I didn't get what I want? Could I still be happy? The simple question can help you start to loosen your attachment. It reminds you that your happiness isn't dependent on external circumstances. It helps you tap into that wellspring of joy and peace that exists within you, regardless of what's happening in your outer world. Another essential aspect of mastering detachment is cultivating trust in the universe. When we're attached, it's often because we're trying to control outcomes. We think that if we just hold on tight enough, we can make things go our way. But the truth is, the universe is vast and complex, and there's so much that's beyond our control. When we learn to trust in the natural flow of life, to believe that things are working out for our highest good even when we can't see it, detachment becomes much easier. This doesn't mean becoming passive or fatalistic. It means doing your best, taking inspired action, and then releasing the outcome to a higher power. It means trusting that whatever happens, you have the inner resources to handle it. Now, let's talk about detachment in relationships, because this is where many of us struggle the most. We love our partners, our children, our friends, and the thought of detaching from them can seem scary or even wrong. But here's the thing. True love and attachment are not the same. In fact, attachment often gets in the way of real love. When we're attached, we often try to control or possess the other person. We become needy, jealous, or fearful. We put conditions on our love. I'll love you if you behave in this way, if you meet my needs, if you never leave me. Real love, on the other hand, is unconditional. It's free. It doesn't seek to possess or control. It allows the other person to be who they are without trying to change them. It's secure enough to give space when needed. It trusts. This is what practicing detachment in relationships looks like. It means loving fully while also maintaining your own sense of self. It means being willing to let go if that's what's best for the other person. It means deriving your sense of worth and happiness from within rather than depending on another person to provide it for you. I remember a conversation I had with a woman after one of my talks. She was distraught because her adult son had made life choices she didn't agree with. She was losing sleep, constantly worrying and trying to control his behavior. Her attachment to her idea of who her son should be was causing her immense suffering, and it was damaging their relationship. I gently suggested that she try practicing detachment. I asked her to imagine what it would be like to love her son unconditionally, to accept him exactly as he was, while also maintaining clear boundaries for herself. It wasn't easy for her, but as she began to loosen her grip, she found that not only did she feel more peace, but her relationship with her son actually improved. This is the magic of detachment in relationships. When we release our need to control, when we give others the freedom to be themselves, we create space for real intimacy and connection to flourish. Now, let's talk about detachment from material possessions, because this is another area where many of us get stuck. We live in a culture that constantly tells us that having more stuff will make us happier. We're encouraged to define ourselves by what we own. But here's the truth. No material possession can ever bring you lasting happiness. Sure, there's a momentary thrill when you get something new. But how long does that really last? Soon you're on to wanting the next thing, caught in an endless cycle of desire and temporary satisfaction. True happiness comes from within. It comes from knowing who you are beyond your possessions. It comes from cultivating inner peace, from developing meaningful relationships, from living with purpose. This doesn't mean you can't enjoy nice things. It means enjoying them without being attached to them. It means being able to appreciate what you have while also being okay with losing it. It means defining yourself by who you are, not what you own. Look around your home and imagine losing everything you own. Really sit with that feeling. It might be uncomfortable at first, but as you work through it, you might find a sense of freedom. You might realize that, even without all your stuff, you'd still be you. Your worth, your essence, isn't in your possessions. It's in you. Now let's talk about detachment from our thoughts and beliefs, because this is perhaps the most profound level of detachment we can practice. We tend to identify strongly with our thoughts and beliefs. We say things like, I am an optimist, or I am a worrier, as if these thoughts define who we are. But here's a revolutionary idea. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind your thoughts. Your thoughts come and go. They change over time. But you, the real you, remains constant. When you can detach from your thoughts, when you can observe them without getting caught up in them, you experience a profound shift in consciousness. You're no longer at the mercy of every passing thought or emotion. You have the power to choose which thoughts to engage with and which to let go. This is particularly powerful when it comes to negative self-talk. So many of us have a constant stream of critical, judgmental thoughts running through our minds. We believe these thoughts, we identify with them, and they cause us immense suffering. But what if you could detach from these thoughts? What if, instead of believing I'm not good enough, you could observe, oh, there's that not good enough thought again, and then let it pass by without attaching to it? This is the power of detachment from thoughts. It frees you from the tyranny of your own mind. It allows you to choose peace, to choose love, to choose joy, regardless of what your thoughts are saying. One powerful practice for developing this kind of detachment is meditation. When you sit in meditation, you're not trying to stop your thoughts. You're simply observing them, watching them come and go without getting caught up in them. Over time, this practice helps you develop a sense of spaciousness around your thoughts. You start to realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the vast awareness in which thoughts arise and pass away. Now, I want to address a common misconception about detachment. Some people worry that if they practice detachment, they'll lose their drive or ambition. They fear they'll become passive or apathetic. But true detachment doesn't diminish your passion or your drive. If anything, it enhances it. When you're detached, you're free to pursue your goals with full enthusiasm without being crippled by fear of failure. You can give your all to a project while remaining unattached to the outcome. Think about it. When are you most creative, most productive? Is it when you're stressed and attached to outcomes, or when you're in a state of flow, fully engaged in the process without worrying about the results? Detachment allows you to access that state of flow more often. It frees you to take risks, to be innovative, to put yourself out there without fear. Because even if things don't work out as planned, you know you'll be okay. Your sense of self isn't tied to the outcome. I've seen this play out in my own life countless times. When I'm attached to the success of a book or a talk, I become anxious, my creativity becomes blocked, and ironically, the work suffers. But when I can detach, when I can focus on the joy of creation and trust that the work will find its audience, that's when the magic happens. That's when I do my best work. So if you have big dreams, if you want to make a difference in the world, don't shy away from detachment. Embrace it. Let it fuel your passion and free you to pursue your dreams with your whole heart. Now let's talk about detachment from the past and the future, because this is crucial for living a happier life. So many of us live with one foot in the past and one in the future, never fully inhabiting the present moment. We replay old hurts or glorify the good old days. We worry about what might happen or pin all our hopes on future events. But here's the truth. The past is gone, and the future is just a concept. The only moment that's real, the only moment where life is actually happening is right now. When we can detach from our stories about the past and our projections about the future, we free ourselves to fully live in the present. This doesn't mean we don't learn from the past or plan for the future. It means we don't let the past define us or the future control us. We use the past for its lessons. We set intentions for the future, but we live in the now. Practicing presence is one of the most powerful forms of detachment. When you're fully present, You naturally detach from regrets about the past and worries about the future. You're able to appreciate the richness of each moment, to find joy in simple things, to connect deeply with others. Try this. Next time you're doing something routine like washing dishes or walking to your car, bring your full attention to the experience. Notice the sensation of the water on your hands or the feeling of your feet touching the ground. Notice the sounds around you, the smells, the play of light and shadow. This simple practice of presence can dramatically shift your experience of life. Now let's address one of the most challenging aspects of detachment, detaching from our ego. Our ego, our sense of separate self, is perhaps our strongest attachment. We cling to our ideas about who we are, our likes and dislikes, our roles and identities. But what if you could loosen your grip on these ideas? What if you could see your ego as just another construct, another set of thoughts and beliefs that you can observe and detach from? This is the deepest level of detachment, and it's also the most liberating. When you're not bound by a rigid sense of self, you're free to grow, to change, to adapt. You're free to express different aspects of yourself without fear of losing your identity. This doesn't mean you lose your individuality. It means you hold your sense of self lightly. You can play different roles, parent, professional, friend, without being completely identified with any of them. You can have preferences without being controlled by them. One way to practice this is to notice when you're defending or asserting your ego, when you feel offended, or when you're trying hard to prove something about yourself. Pause and ask, what am I attached to here? What aspect of my self-image am I trying to protect? Just this awareness can help you start to loosen your attachment to ego. You might find that you can let go of the need to always be right, to always look good, to always be in control. And in that letting go, you'll find a profound sense of freedom. As we near the end of our time together, I want to remind you that mastering the art of detachment is a lifelong journey. It's not about reaching a state of perfect detachment and staying there forever. It's about cultivating an attitude of non-attachment in your daily life, about catching yourself when you're getting too attached and gently redirecting yourself. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate all attachments. It's to hold them lightly, to enjoy life fully without being controlled by your attachments. It's about finding that balance between engagement and detachment, between caring deeply and holding space for whatever may come. So how do you put all this into practice? Start small. Choose one area of your life where you feel overly attached and experiment with loosening your grip. Maybe it's a relationship, a goal, a possession, or a belief about yourself. Practice observing your attachments without judgment. Notice how they make you feel, how they influence your behavior. Then, gently, with compassion for yourself, start to create some space. Remind yourself that you are not your attachment. You are the awareness that can choose to engage with life freely and joyfully. Cultivate practices that support detachment. Meditation, mindfulness, gratitude. These are all powerful tools for developing a more detached perspective. Make them a regular part of your life. Practice. Bring your full attention to each moment, to each task. When you're fully present, you're naturally detached from past regrets and future anxieties. You're free to experience the richness of life as it unfolds. Cultivate trust in the universe. Remember that you are part of something much larger than yourself. Trust that even when things don't go as planned, there's a higher purpose at work. This trust allows you to release your attachments more easily. Practice acceptance. So much of our attachment comes from resisting what is. When you can accept life as it comes without constantly wishing it were different, you free yourself from a lot of unnecessary suffering. Remember, detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care without clinging. It means you love without possessing. It means you pursue your goals with passion while remaining unattached to the outcome. Think about water for a moment. The water is fluid, adaptable. It doesn't resist, it flows. When you pour water into a cup, it becomes the cup. When you pour it into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. Water can crash or flow. Be like water, my friends. This is the essence of detachment. Now, I want to share another personal story with you. Years ago, I was very attached to my physical appearance. I worked out obsessively, watched every calorie, and spent far too much time in front of the mirror. My mood would fluctuate based on how I thought I looked on any given day. Then I had a health scare that forced me to reevaluate everything. I realized how much energy I was wasting on this attachment to my appearance, energy that could be directed towards more meaningful pursuits. I began to practice detachment from my physical image. It wasn't easy at first. Old habits die hard. But gradually, I began to identify less with my body and more with my spirit. I still took care of my health, but I no longer let my appearance define my worth. The result was a profound sense of freedom. I had more time, more energy, and more peace of mind, and ironically, I ended up feeling more comfortable in my own skin than I ever had before. This is the power of detachment. It frees up your energy. When you're not constantly trying to control outcomes, when you're not wrapped up in how others perceive you, when you're not clinging to possessions or achievements, you have so much more energy to simply live, to create, to love, to be. Now let's talk about detachment in the context of personal growth. Many of us are on a path of self-improvement, which is wonderful. But sometimes our attachment to becoming better can actually hinder our growth. We become so focused on who we want to become that we reject who we are right now. True growth comes from a place of self-acceptance, not self-rejection. It comes from a willingness to see ourselves clearly with all our strengths and weaknesses and to love ourselves anyway. This is detachment in action. We can work on ourselves without being attached to a particular outcome. When you can detach from your idea of who you should be, you create space for authentic growth. You can explore new ways of being without fear. You can make mistakes and learn from them without harsh self-judgment. You can celebrate your progress without becoming complacent. Remember, you are not your past mistakes, nor are you your future potential. You are who you are in this moment. When you can fully accept that, while still being open to growth and change, you've mastered a powerful form of detachment. Now, I want to address those of you who might be thinking, this all sounds good in theory, Wayne, but how do I practice detachment when life gets really tough, when I'm facing a serious illness or the loss of a loved one or financial hardship? These are valid questions. It's easy to talk about detachment when everything is going well. The real test comes when we're faced with life's biggest challenges. But here's the thing. It's precisely in these moments that the practice of detachment becomes most powerful. When you're facing a serious illness, detachment allows you to separate your sense of self from your body's condition. It helps you maintain a sense of peace and purpose even as you navigate difficult treatments. It allows you to make clear-headed decisions about your care rather than reacting from a place of fear. When you're grieving the loss of a loved one, detachment doesn't mean you don't feel the pain. It means you can experience the grief fully without being consumed by it. It means you can cherish the memories without clinging desperately to the past. It means you can honor your loved one by continuing to live fully. When you're facing financial hardship, detachment from material possessions and status symbols can be incredibly freeing. It allows you to focus on what truly matters, your relationships, your personal growth, your contribution to the world. It helps you approach your financial challenges with a clear mind, free from panic or despair. In all of these situations, detachment gives you resilience. It reminds you that no matter what's happening in your external circumstances, your inner peace is always available to you. It's a constant resource you can tap into, a refuge in this. Now let's talk about detachment in the context of success and failure. Our society is obsessed with success. We're taught from a young age to strive for achievements, to climb the ladder, to be the best. And there's nothing inherently wrong with pursuing excellence. The problem comes when we attach our sense of self-worth to our successes or failures. When you're attached to success, you live in constant fear of failure. You may find yourself playing it safe, avoiding risks, missing out on opportunities for growth and innovation. Or you might push yourself relentlessly, sacrificing your health and relationships in pursuit of achievement. But when you can detach from the need to succeed, something magical happens. You're free to take risks, to be creative, to follow your passion without fear. You can give your best effort and then let go, knowing that your worth isn't determined by the outcome. This applies to failure as well. When you're not attached to always succeeding, you can see failure for what it really is. A learning opportunity, a stepping stone on the path to growth. You can pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and try again without being weighed down by shame or self-doubt. I remember a time when I was just starting out as a writer. I poured my heart and soul into a book, certain it was going to be my big break. When it was rejected by publisher after publisher, I was devastated. I had attached all my hopes and dreams to this one book, and its failure felt like my failure as a person. It took me a while to gain perspective, to detach from this outcome. But when I did, I realized that the act of writing the book had already changed me. I had grown as a writer and as a person. The book might have been rejected, but the experience was invaluable. Once I could see that, I was able to take the constructive feedback I received and channel it into my next project, which turned out to be far better than the first. This is the power of detaching from success and failure. It allows you to enjoy the journey, to learn from every experience, to keep growing and evolving regardless of external outcomes. Now, as we're nearing the end of our time together, I want to circle back to the main point, mastering the art of detachment for a happier life. Everything we've discussed today, detachment from outcomes, from possessions, from others' opinions, from our own thoughts and emotions. It all comes down to one fundamental truth. Happiness is an inside job. True happiness, lasting happiness, doesn't come from anything external. It doesn't come from achieving goals, acquiring possessions, or earning others' approval. It comes from within. It comes from knowing who you truly are beyond all your attachments. It comes from being at peace with yourself and with life as it is. When you master the art of detachment, you tap into this inner source of happiness. You're no longer at the mercy of external circumstances. You can find joy in the simple things, peace in the midst of chaos, love in the face of loss. This doesn't mean you become passive or stop engaging with life. On the contrary, detachment allows you to engage more fully. More authentically, you can pursue your passions, build relationships, work towards goals, but you do it all from a place of inner freedom. You're not driven by fear or need, but by love and inspiration. Imagine waking up each morning with a sense of peace and possibility. Imagine being able to face whatever the day brings with equanimity and grace. Imagine being able to love deeply without fear, to work passionately without stress, to live fully without anxiety about the future. This is the promise of mastering detachment. As you leave here today, I encourage you to start practicing detachment in your daily life. Start small. Notice your attachments, question them gently, practice letting go little by little. Be patient and compassionate with yourself. Remember, this is a lifelong journey. When you find yourself getting caught up in attachment, take a deep breath. Remind yourself of who you truly are beyond all your attachments. Reconnect with that inner source of peace and happiness. Let it guide your actions and interactions. Remember, you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you are not your possessions or your achievements. You are not even your body. You are the eternal, unchanging awareness that witnesses all of these things. When you can rest in that awareness, you've mastered the art of detachment. My friends, you have within you everything you need to live a happy, fulfilling life. You don't need to acquire anything, achieve anything, or become anything. You just need to remove the obstacles, the attachments that are blocking you from realizing your true nature. As you go forth from here, carry this message with you. Let go and then let life flow through you. Trust in the natural unfolding of things. Engage fully with life, but hold it all lightly. Love deeply, but without clinging. Give your best in every moment, but release your attachment to outcomes. In doing so, you'll find a happiness that nothing can shake, a peace that nothing can disturb, a love that knows no bounds. You'll find the freedom to be truly authentically you. Thank you for your attention, for your willingness to explore these ideas. Remember, the power to change your life lies within you. It always has, and it always will. Go forth and master the art of detachment. Your happier life is waiting for you.